What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Talkin Wellness. So happy to have you here. We have a very special episode for today. But before we start, my name is Christian. Mike Kell is over there. He's getting his mic ready.
Hello, how we doing?
As you can see, we have two very wonderful guests. Would you like to introduce yourselves, please?
Yes, I am Bri, and I work here over at SFWN Network.
Awesome sauce.
Hi guys, I'm Lauren. I work here as well. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome.
Nice, very nice. Welcome, ladies.
Super happy to have you. We're going to talk about some really interesting stuff today. We're going to be focusing on, as you saw in the title, relationships and recovery. So every single one of us is in or has been in a relationship. And guess what? Every single one of us in one shape or form is in recovery. For those who don't know, we've given throughout the podcast a couple definitions of recovery. But overall, recovery can be identified as anybody who's on a journey of overarching wellness, right? So if you put it under that gaze, kind of everybody's under recovery, right? And we've all utilize our recovery to kind of get where we are today, but we've also had to let other people in our lives, our support systems, into that process of recovery and letting them know what affects us, what makes us happy, what makes us sad, what gives us stress. And so we're going to talk about all of that and how we have used our recovery to even strengthen our relationships and how sometimes it leads to some difficult or strange situations. So, obviously, you guys are new to the podcast, so I kind of want to give you a space to just kind of talk about a little bit of your story, because one of the things that especially when thinking about this episode, one of the things that immediately came to mind, and we even talked about it right before, was, well, I think there's two parts to this episode, right? And it's in the title, recovery and relationships. So the first part has to be recovery, no? Right. And so I would love to hear your guys' story on how recovery, how crucial or how important was recovery in not only your life, but in your relationships.
A little bit about me is that I struggled with depression and plenty of panic attacks at such a young age, but I also was in a really long-term relationship at a very young age, starting at 16 years old. Okay. And then my panic attacks had started at 17 years old. Kind of going from that to now being almost 26, pretty much have been in relationships throughout that entire time. But like me, as my depression and my panic attacks, they don't go away. You just have to learn how to cope with them better. So going through that, kind of just realizing how I treat myself and how I'm treating my mental health is going to play a huge role into who's allowing into my life. So that's kind of like a little bit of what I did for me, for my recovery in that sense. Now being in like one of the happiest relationships, whether it's friendships, family, like romantic relationships, this is probably the most healthiest relationship I've ever been in, but only because I'm in my best part of my recovery, and it's only going to elevate from here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. What about you, Lauren?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I connect with Bri. It kind of correlates almost identically. I was in an early relationship, very young. It kind of teaches you like what you want in a relationship and what you don't want in a relationship. I struggled with a lot of anxiety, and I had a lot of family stuff going on around that time. So kind of depending on another individual at such a young age, it just kind of worsened. You know, I didn't really teach myself self-value and self-love. You know, it was kind of depending on that relationship and that bond that I had to kind of fulfill it. So where I am now in life, you know, it really does take that right support system and relationship to really just all of those things, you know, start to come out when you have that right person and the right communication and support and love. So, and like Bri said, it's definitely going to elevate from here. And that's kind of how you have to treat your relationships, is building them, growing them, you know, and kind of just keeping them well maintained.
Absolutely. I can definitely relate to that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I've had to learn in my life the importance of working on myself to be able to have positive relationships, right? You know, like in my journey, and we kind of touched on it on the episode of My Story Matters, my episode, and we touched on the idea that because I was like keeping everything guarded, and because that's part of my recovery, right? Where it was I wasn't allowing myself to share how I was feeling with
Right.
people. It affected the way that I trusted or talked to people, right? So I absolutely understand where you guys are coming from, especially now. Is like now is that's when I've had to learn that tool more than anything,
Yeah.
right? Just the importance of like healthy relationships and working on myself to achieve that. So that's really cool. I really appreciate you sharing. What about you, Michael? How has recovery and relationships been in your life? You know.
Well, I'm usually the antagonist or the opposite person on these podcasts, and it seems like I am again. I'm the only one not in a relationship. That's great.
Hey, we'll get you one after this one. You know, there's probably some.
Yeah.
I love relationships. I mean, there's so many different types of relationships. Obviously,
Absolutely.
there's with your family, there's with friends, there's with partners. I have great relationships on all aspects of my life, better than they've ever been with family and friends. Relationship, not there because it's just not there. But I think I'm at the most mature and the most developed in my mindset that I've ever been. And I think that's why I'm not in a relationship. And it's because I understand what I need and what I want in a partner. And I'm not kind of wanting to settle.
Absolutely.
So it's just a bit of like a waiting game. Also a bit of like, I'm a little bit of a pessimist on like how our generation is and how things are. And I have an old school way of thinking in a lot of ways and a new school way of thinking in certain things. So it's just, not trying to rush in that front. But I have been in some long relationship. I was in a 5-year relationship and I learned a lot from that. I would say before that relationship, I was extremely immature, like F-boy, like someone that was, not cool, like, and didn't really care about people's feelings and didn't take responsibility for the things I was doing. Not necessarily saying I was like a terrible person. I always think I was a good-hearted person. I just didn't necessarily think of the impact of my things I was doing to other people. And now, like, before I do things, I'm very aware of how it could hurt someone, So it's just like, I guess relationships has been a big part of my life as far as making me who I am today. But at the same time, it's not like something that defines me, like that, at least like a partner relationship yet. But I do want someone. I want a partner. I think we all do, but just not forcing it.
Yeah, and I
get
think
that.
it's super sorry. I think
No, go
it's
ahead.
super important to like obviously have that fulfillment, within yourself.
Yes.
And that's something that I can say, every day for me, like individually is a journey to hold that full value. Every day is like I'm trying to love myself more, just little things, that I find that I can alter. So I think like it's timing, and obviously people meet their person in the right timing.
Yeah.
And when you have that fulfillment within yourself, it's like you're not seeking that validation. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
cool.
it was like, back to what you're saying, like a fulfillment thing. Like neither of us were being fulfilled because we were ultimately compromising so much of who we were to be
Whoa.
Values are
together.
gone.
And like, it's cool and all to love someone and to care about them so much to change things, but not to change exactly everything about yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we
I see
did
that.
like speaking as far as my last relationship, that was the long one. We were just different people, and you can't force that sometimes. And no matter how much you love someone or care about them, you just can't. And that sometimes builds resentments, and it
Yeah.
creates toxic relationships. And I will admit that's created like a sour taste in my tongue as far as getting back into one. But I will never be like, I hate all women. I've never been that type of person. I feel like people maybe think that way because of stuff I say, but I absolutely love women. Like, I love women. I love being around women. I'd rather be around like women than dudes. Like, I like hanging out with my boys and stuff, but like, let's say if we're gonna go hang out, we're gonna go have dinner and stuff. I'd rather hang out with some girls than a bunch of dudes.
I get
That's
that.
me.
I get that.
We're pretty
Like,
cool.
I prefer that. Okay.
I think too,
But-
it's like an emotional intelligence thing, and I think
Yes.
girls, not all men, but I feel like you two, just knowing you personally, like that intelligence level, like emotionally, it's more fun to like be around girls.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
trust me, I hang out with my family and there's a lot of girls and I go crazy with
yeah, you're
Nikki and my mom and
yeah.
Nevaeh. I go crazy because they're girls and they think like girls, and we do run into topics where we're like, bro, we're never going to agree because, again, I think very old school in a lot of ways. But at the same time, like, I'm very like lighthearted with all that stuff. I'm very like, I'm not gonna like make it seem like your way is wrong, my way is this way.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll give you that. That's very true.
We're all
even
different
when,
people.
even when we have disagreements, it's always like
We're completely
playful.
different. And then the next day we come in, hey Chris, what's up? You know,
Yeah.
we're all different people. You know, at the
Yeah,
end of
that's
the day.
probably also because he grew up around like all women.
Well, that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna go to. Is like I grew up with a single mom, you know, and like that probably had a lot to do with how my comfort around women today. You know, like I can just hang out with women,
Yeah.
and like it's not a weird conversation.
Yeah.
It's not uncomfortable because I grew up with that, you know.
Right.
So maybe that's part of it.
And I can
don't
kind
know.
of agree too, because I grew up with my mom, seeing
Yeah.
her on going through her whole cycle of craziness. I was with my mom the whole time, and I never had my dad. My dad was never there. I'm like
Yeah.
that stereotype of dad's not being there, you know.
It's like women are your
Yeah,
comfort space.
they've
Yeah.
always been my comfort space. Do I have two misogynistic brothers? Yeah, I do. That are older than me. Yeah,
Come out.
and
Ouch.
but do I take in things they say? Absolutely. But everything they say is like set in stone. Absolutely not. I agree with. I'm the person that will bring the argument to them more than anything because they're like
You gotta
the two
challenge them.
misogynistic guys and no one's gonna say anything because it's gonna start a big thing. And I'm just like, all right, well, I get it, but like you gotta understand, you can't be that hateful about certain topics. Like I'm
Yeah.
honestly
I like
the
that.
mediator with
I
certain
like that. That's
situations.
Cool.
I really
'Cause
am.
it's like you're challenging, even
Yeah, I
like
was
your
gonna say,
mom
like,
and
you
your
mean-
sister, and like
Oh,
challenges.
that's why
you
me and
know,
my
your
mom butt heads
thoughts.
all the time. She even
Yeah.
called me like a. Or I shouldn't say that when I was taking pictures. But I
that's
love
right.
my mom. But it's because me and my mom are so alike. We're
Right.
insanely alike.
Interesting.
All of us are. Like, if you've ever met my other brother, the one that makes the shirts, Anthony, us three specifically are very similar. Not saying like we're not alike to all the other siblings, but us three specifically, the way we think and the way our brains go, ADD, we're very similar. So we all get in the biggest arguments amongst each other, and the other three kind of like stay out of it. They know their places. They're like, okay, well, we're all yelling at each other, you know. So
Yeah.
but that's the dynamic of that relationship.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
funny.
So you know, I guess that leads me to start talking about our next topic that I wanted to really hit on. I think one of the strongest values that we see in relationships, whether it be romantic, whether it be familial, whether it be friendships, whether it be work based. You catch our last week's episode of Wellness in the Workplace. But it's communication.
Yep.
Right? And I think that based on a lot of the stories that I've heard here at South Florida Wellness Network and in my life and the lives of my coworkers, I've noticed a pattern, right? Where when it comes to communication, because there's two schools, right? There's the school of, I love you and I support you. Thank you for telling me this, right? This is from the perspective of us talking to our relationships, right? We love you, we support you, we understand you're in this journey, we're going to do it together. There's that school, right? And then there's the other school, which is a lot more uncomfortable, where it's like, I don't understand that, I don't like that, what are you doing? You're wrong.
More of a
for doing
challenge,
this.
challenging
It's
you.
more of a challenging atmosphere,
Right.
right? So I would love, obviously, if you, whatever you guys don't feel comfortable sharing, that's okay.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear your perspective on how that process was for you. Here's the reason why I want to say this, because I didn't necessarily wanted to highlight this, but I think it's important for perspective.
100%.
I'm coming from the perspective where I am a person in recovery and my partner fits the norm of society, which is a woman. You guys are coming from a different perspective,
Yeah.
right? Where you guys have female partners in your
Yeah.
life, right? And obviously here at South Florida Wellness, as well as Talkin Wellness, we're inclusive. We love you guys. That doesn't change anything.
Do you guys really?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So-
I mean, I didn't know. That's cool. I'm gonna ask questions about that now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Now
go for
I'm
it.
curious.
Yeah, go.
But-
That's the question.
that brings an interesting perspective when
100%.
it comes to communication, because when I had told my parents that I was going to marry my fiance, their response was like a little scary, but okay, we support you.
Aw.
I'm interested to hear, based on a lot of sad stories I've heard or a lot of different perspectives that I've heard even here at the office, how was that experience for you guys when it came to having that communication with your families and with your other relationships about your relationship and who you are as a person?
Oh, okay. So we're going kind of back as
coming
to
out?
No, not necessarily coming out, but that relationship.
How has your relationship with your current partner been received to the
Oh,
people
of course.
around you?
To the
yeah,
people around you.
definitely,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
definitely. I'll go first
Okay,
on this
yeah.
one. So to get kind of open, my family in the beginning was kind of, it wasn't really like a shock, but it also wasn't. I wasn't the kind of person that really spoke about like my relationships or my interests, with anyone. I kind of kept to myself and did my own thing. So when it did, when I was in my first relationship with a girl, my family was really receptive to it, as, was the other person's. I think that, my sister was kind of taken back. And then the positive from that is...
When was this, by the way? Sorry.
I think I was like 17.
And you're how
18,
old now?
24.
Okay.
So I think after, years kind of had passed with my sister accepting it, getting kind of, used to it, which also I want to say that I think it's fair to allow a family member to kind of hold that space to accept it,
Of
not
course.
necessarily,
I'm sure you had a time where you had to accept it for yourself,
Of
so you can
course.
only imagine
It's
the
very
people.
like what you have to take a step back.
Yeah.
Some people,
absolutely,
like,
Yeah.
I get that.
That brings up
So-
that brings
No,
up
it's okay.
my stepdad. He had his sister is now his brother.
Oh.
And
Interesting.
my stepdad's the most accepting person, like nicest person you'll ever meet in your whole entire life. And even still, I talk to him now, and he's like, he's not. It doesn't bother him. He loves him, but it's weird for him.
It is, and I think it's important
It's
to like
uncomfortable.
hold that
Yeah.
space for like your family or your close friends, and I think that situation's definitely, it's like an identity, it's an identity switch. So that especially you see someone as somebody and then you see them as someone different.
You
So
gotta
that's
be patient.
it's patience. But back to what I was saying, my sister now in my life, with the relationship I'm in, hopefully you don't watch this, but maybe you will. She fully accepts me as a person and my relationship and my girlfriend. So that
Why
was like
wouldn't you want her to
really-
see that? That's awesome.
Yeah,
So that
I mean,
was
you're
like
saying
I
such
would
good
want her to see that. I thought you were gonna
That-
say something like, "I think she hates us." I was like,
I
"No,
would
that's
rather say
awesome.
something bad.
That's,
so
that's
I
super
think,
cool."
I think that aspect is like, obviously my girlfriend and I's relationship is, honestly, it's so good.
How long have you been together?
2 years.
Okay.
So,
That's so cool.
It's definitely.
Have you only ever dated women? I'm asking
No.
questions. I'm gonna ask these questions that I did not know.
No,
This is interesting.
I've like your high school, whatever. I
So
definitely.
what is that called when
experimented.
you don't care about sex?
It can, I mean, that's
Polyamorous?
I think it's-
No, it's not polyamorous.
Wait, whoa.
Asexual.
It's like
Pansexual.
pansexual. Yeah.
I thought it was what's asexual?
Polyamorous is when you
It's
have-
pansexual.
You don't.
Yeah.
Oh, never.
Asexual. Yeah, you don't like
Okay.
anyone.
Yeah, I feel like
Um,
most like women who are now either like lesbian or bisexual or pansexual, they have.
He said it for me. Yes.
You're welcome.
I agree.
You're
100%.
LGBTQIA plus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like most of them now, like they're able to come out. Everyone has their different journey, but there was a period. There's like very rare people who are able to come out and like be able to start with their chosen gender of choice to start dating. Like I feel like most, and like you said it, I dated men pretty much my entire high school life into college.
And did that feel uncomfortable?
I wouldn't say uncomfortable. I guess I just didn't know. I wasn't like 100%, but even sometimes even dating women, I wasn't.
So
100%.
do you feel like
Right.
so now you're with women, obviously.
Yes.
Do you feel like you were always supposed to be with a woman and like
Well, yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
you were kind of dating men because it was the norm?
Yes, exactly.
And do you feel like if, let's say, God forbid, if this relationship didn't work, you'd probably go back to like a female
Yes,
relationship?
absolutely.
Okay, I'm
It's
just
going
asking
to
these
work.
questions.
No,
I
that's
like
a
to
valid-
put context
Going to
out there.
work.
That
I'm getting
question
married.
that you asked is definitely.
Whoa.
I mean, that's awesome.
No, I really hope she doesn't
All right,
see
well,
this.
who's the
Hard
man
launch
then
on
in
that
the
one.
marriage? Who's the man in the marriage, or is it women?
whoa,
Women?
whoa.
That's the
How does that
most
work?
asked
There we go.
question, for
Pause.
sure.
There we
So
go.
there is no man in a marriage. That's the whole point of a lesbian relationship. We
Right.
don't want a man.
So it's 50-50 everything all the
Pretty
way.
I mean, I would say, yeah, like there's like
It's
there's-
50-50 in the sense that each person has their different
yeah, strengths,
like
weaknesses,
Because that's my biggest
dominance,
contempt.
submissiveness.
That's my biggest contempt and not even
Here we go.
like
I feel it winding.
same gender, not even same gender relationships, because if they can make it work if as long as the mindsets are different.
Yeah,
I think you need a traditional mindset and a non-traditional. I really and by that I mean someone that's gonna kind of take care of the bills, lead the household, and someone that's gonna be
Absolutely
submissive.
not.
I think when it comes
I
down
almost
to
always
that,
think it needs to
There
happen.
has to be a balance. Like, okay, let's say my girlfriend takes care of the bills, and that means like I'm gonna do the dishes that night. Or,
Okay.
like, not even like bills, like that. That's like
And that's
the
what I'm
act of
saying.
paying
That's what I'm
bills.
saying.
But one of us
Roles.
is not gonna be like making. Well, one of us is gonna be making more money. She's in med school. Like we know she's gonna be making more money. But at the same time, like when it comes to like responsibilities, like oh, you pick up these groceries on Monday, and you walk the dogs tonight or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, something
and I do feel as if, sorry to interrupt, I think it's like, I remember when my girlfriend and I started dating, we had this conversation and I'm like, wow, like this is gonna work, you know, kind of just like realizing the mindset that she had. We sat down one night and we saw like a post, you know, a cliche, like, oh, this is how a relationship should go. And it said, you know, when your person is at a 20 that day, you know, the other person
person has
picks
to
up that
go.
80.
and then it switches.
You know,
yes.
so that's kind
Oh,
of
yeah,
back
I've
to
heard
what
of
you're
that.
saying
Yes,
when it comes
exactly.
down to, oh, like I'll clean the bathroom, you can clean whatever, you know,
just
like
had
switch
this
on and off.
conversation with my girlfriend because we were talking about it, and I was like, it's so good to know that I am on the same level as someone who, like, if she's at a 20 one day, I'm gonna have to pull more weight for her,
Yeah.
and I know she would do it the other way around. Like, if
Exactly.
I'm stressed about school, if I'm stressed about work, and she's having a day where she's not as stressed, then like she'll be like, hey, like it's okay, like I'll do this today, and I know in 2 weeks from now if that's a different situation, and like I definitely feel like I didn't have that aspect in my relationships in the past. Like I feel like it took a lot to be even just 50-50. So now that I have a really strong relationship, it's going to fluctuate like by a
Right.
daily and weekly basis, 100%.
And I do believe that, you know, a woman and a man, you know, I think that is the same kind of, it really
it
is
needs to be the same. Yeah,
the
the
same
men
dynamic,
don't have to just
you
bring
know.
in
Absolutely.
the bills and the
But I do
responsibilities.
respect that, you know, traditional mindset. I do. I think it's, you know, it really is also too like getting into like how you were brought up and how you're raised, you know.
Absolutely.
I definitely came from a very like unstructured family, very chaotic.
Yeah.
Moved around so much. My parents divorced very young. My girlfriend's family is like the traditional, you know, family put together. Like her parents are still together. You know, and that's also something when it comes down to like mental health and recovery. When you do meet a person that comes from a different upbringing than you, it kind of takes like a little bit of time, at least for myself,
For sure.
to like realize, you know, it's okay to like be a part of a family and to have those like events and occasions that you attend, you know. That definitely took some time. So it really does kind of depend on like how you were raised.
yeah.
Yeah.
That can get difficult.
So and just to add a little bit to that, I think, and to be fair, that's a very modern way of thinking.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
We need to.
I was gonna say that
we need
too.
We need to be fair here, right? A lot
100%,
of more
yeah.
traditionalist relationships don't see it like that. They see it
Yeah.
as roles. I agree with you guys. I don't see relationships as roles. I see
Right.
relationships as responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like I love that what you guys brought. Like if I'm feeling 60% or if she's feeling 40%, I gotta bring 60.
Yeah.
If she's feeling 20, I gotta bring 80.
And
If
sometimes be
I'm
0 or
feeling
100, like-
15, she needs to bring 75. Like you know what I'm saying?
That would be 85.
Or 85. I apologize. Thank you. Yeah, math. But you see what I mean is that it's not about the roles, in my opinion, in my relationship. It's about what we can do for each other.
Yeah.
Like I'll share a quick story. Recently, my fiance started a new job. Not so long, not recently, but she started a new job as a teacher last semester, and it paid her a little less money than she was expecting. So there's days where she, you know, when we first started our relationship, I was in a job that didn't make a lot of money, and she was in a job that did make quite some money. So there were days where she would help me out with gas, or she would pay for
Right.
my dinner, right? And then now that I have a job that pays a little more than her job,
Let me ask you, how long
I
did that
help her.
happen that she was helping you? Because I don't believe that a woman will want to pay a guy's bills for a long period of time.
Not,
I don't believe
well,
that's
she
true.
wasn't paying my bills. She was helping me out. There's a difference,
a
right?
big difference.
She wasn't paying for my insurance, for my car, for
Mm-hmm.
my car bills. She wasn't paying for rent. She was just helping me out from time to time, like dinner. Or
So let's say if there was
gas.
ever a point in time where she had to take care of you, the 80 and you're the 20, how would that go?
I think she would do it.
And that's my point.
I think she would do it. And
I
that-
don't think there's a lot of people
I
where
do
that
kinda
situation
understand. Yeah.
happens.
I think it is.
You gotta find the person.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say you definitely have to find the
Because
people.
I've seen it personally in my family multiple times.
And I understand that.
And they've had issues when someone loses a
Especially
job.
with mental health too is like a whole different ballgame. If you're dating someone who doesn't understand mental health, they're not going to pull that weight. They're
And
gonna
that's
be
a- and
"You're
that's a big
lazy,
thing, too.
You didn't do the dishes. You didn't do
Exactly.
this, and then you're
Right.
like, well, I'm having a
But let's be
depressive
real.
episode.
How many people in this world really talk about mental health?
Nobody.
We're in a
Not a lot.
profession that literally specializes
but
about
look at what we did. We found the person that does.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the crucial part for I feel that we need to start instilling in a lot of listeners is
Yeah.
that you don't have to settle.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
there's something really powerful in finding
to learn my
your
hard way.
person.
No, of
right?
course.
And because when we just settle because finally we have a person, she's hot or he's hot or
Yeah.
they're hot. Oh my God, yeah, it's gonna work out. When we just settle, what we're lacking is that emotional and mental connection
100%.
that it goes beyond the physical.
100%.
Yeah.
You know,
You-
I heard a speaker say it like this once, like you got to build foundations in your life, right?
course.
And it all starts with what's inside and then it just builds up outward,
Yeah.
right? Because when you're old and you don't, and she doesn't look or he doesn't look or they don't look like they used to,
100%.
and
Change, yeah.
100%.
you,
Yeah.
as long as you build a foundation of love from the inside, that's not going to matter. You can knock that box out.
I agree.
It's
think
still
it's
going to
also-
be
I
in
think
there.
like the gap between like I had a long relationship young, kind of took those like 3-4 years, something like that, you know, to really just like dive into myself. And that's honestly where I had the most challenging times, you know, with like my mental health and like me just kind of doing crazy stuff and like dating randomly. And, you know, like you said, you see someone and you're like, wow, like they're attractive. Let me be with them, you know, and it's all based on those like values and like,
You yourself.
For
you know,
sure.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
sacrifice that goes into like like being with someone, and like you have to really have those conversations from the beginning and build that foundation, you know, for it all kind of to like flow smoothly. And there's always going to be like those challenges that, you know, happen. I know at least for like myself in my relationship, like those challenges every time, like we come out so much stronger, and like that feeling of knowing, okay, this
cold?
person, are you cold?
No.
Oh, okay, okay.
I just have to move my.
I was just checking.
I sit
I was
between
just checking. I was just
I'm
checking. Sure.
Yeah.
just to
It gets
move
cold. So I'll just make
No,
sure.
it does. I'm like,
Yeah. So I think it's really cool to like have challenges in a relationship. And then, you know, one thing I really wanted to discuss, like a style of communication, you know, for myself, I found as a fault, and then I also kind of unraveled why I do this. You know, when there is a disagreement between my girlfriend and I tend to like completely just kind of shut down. You know, we'll still be face to face having the conversation, but like I kind of just zone out and like blank space, and like that's my
very
that's my
common
thoughts.
Defense
you know,
mechanism, like-
processing. Yeah, like I
Yeah,
kind of
I
have
do
to
that too.
process. And most of the time internally, I'm dissecting, you know, what I did wrong, you know, or what I should have, you know, trying to problem solve in my head before it's spoken about. And, you know, for my girlfriend, you know, in the beginning of our relationship, she was like, why are you, like, what's wrong? Like, can we just talk? And I'm like, you know, I wanted to table that, you know, problem. But now it's like, immediately it's like, hey, you know,
have to say it.
give me like 2 minutes.
Let
like,
me ask a
just give me
question. Do
1
you guys
second.
think so? I absolutely don't think you need to be the same gender to date at all. Do you think that you need to have a masculine and a feminine presence in your relationship, like opposite, or
No.
do you
I don't
think?
think
it's
so, but I
common.
think
It could be masculine, masculine, feminine, feminine.
Yeah,
It's
I
very,
think
very
it
common.
naturally like
Because that
happens
sounded to
way.
me almost the way you took that situation, kind of masculinely.
Yes, but I will say
You
this.
kind of like
yeah.
sunk her
advocate-
in.
And you're saying
be
that's like
Like,
Pause,
you're
what?
saying
That's
that's
exactly
like the,
what I would do
I
in
don't
the
think-
masculine,
back in the
yeah.
day.
You just advocated for yourself. You've just learned. I don't think that's like masculine.
Yeah,
I think you just said,
it's like
hey,
a different personality styles because like
Yeah.
I'm not I am a sensitive person, but like when it comes to like that, like I'm not. Like my girlfriend is very sensitive, but she's also very like understanding.
Yeah.
So she won't.
What I
be
meant was by like
as-
traditionally masculine. Yeah. Like.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
There's
that's
so many
also
different ways for
an
sure.
important thing on that is like what completely altered the way that I communicate is finally, and like when I say like it took a while because you could say it over and over again, is people are not mind readers. So if I'm
Right.
shutting down,
That's so true.
like and like in my head I'm like replaying, like you just said, like what did I do wrong, what can I do better, and I'm not saying words, but it's like it's going in my head.
Yeah.
But
It's like
then
the
I have
Windows
someone
loading screen.
yes, and then I have my partner, my girlfriend, she's thinking that she did something wrong or she
Yep.
did this, and like then it creates this like space. But now that I've learned to be like, hey, if I go quiet for a second, it's not because you did something wrong. It's because I'm turning in my head. Give me
Yeah.
like a second to take a second.
And I think that's important for like
Yes.
all
Yeah.
relationships, you know. I think
Exactly.
everyone might do it, everyone
Exactly.
does it, and you know, learning each other's like communication styles, argument styles, you know, I found for myself that was like a detachment style, you know, and it wasn't necessarily a bad thing because I was processing, and I end up coming out stronger, you know, after I take those few moments. I'm able to clearly really like analyze, and that's it, you know, problem solve. We have that conversation and it's back to, you know, 100. But
definitely
it
and
is,
just
it's definitely a
validating.
toxic kind of, I would say, like behavior until it's explained and until it's understood by
And I just
by your-
100%.
and I
by your
just
partner.
posted this on my Instagram story that you can explain, but it doesn't excuse. And that is like one
Right.
of the biggest things
yes.
that I've learned also is like, okay, if I'm having an overthinking moment or I'm anxious or I'm feeling depressed about something and I kind of do something that is not nice or kind to my girlfriend, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, well, it's because I have anxiety disorders and it's because I have this. Like,
Try to
and you have
validate it, yeah.
you
It's-
have to
yeah.
you have to justify it. But like, no, like you can 100% be like, hey, this is why, but I am sorry that
And
I
I'm
did
working
this, and
on
I'm
That's what
gonna
makes us
work on
human,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
And it's part of that personal responsibility, right? It's
Yes.
a key recovery concept that we constantly talk about here on the
HPRESS.
podcast. HPRESS, right? On the podcast, we talked about HPRESS all the time, and personal responsibility is one of
Yeah.
those, right? Making sure that we're understanding that not only do we need to go out and advocate for ourselves we have a responsibility to educate ourselves, to find our supports, to find our hope, but we also have a responsibility to ask for forgiveness
Yes.
and to bridge those connections once more and to say sorry.
Yes.
All right, I have a quick
Yes.
question, guys. All right, so if you guys could, I mean, it's probably not even going to be a quick question. If you guys had to give one, like for real, one red flag of yourselves that's like, bro, like
Okay.
big red flag, what would you give? Like in a
Big
relationship
red flag.
with a personal relationship.
I
Don't
would-
be like, I'm too nice.
No,
I
yeah,
will
no,
die
no.
of laughter.
Okay, I do. Okay, so technically it can be considered a green flag to some people, but really, if you dissect it, it's a pretty bad red flag.
Okay.
I'm going to dissect it. Let's
Yeah,
hear
do it. I definitely put those, and then this is every relationship, every friendship, every family member, all, my personal relationship, my romantic relationships.
Before you?
Before myself.
Yeah, that's a red
I
flag.
always
Yeah.
do it, and it's something that I'm
Builds
working on
resentments.
100%.
That is a red
Yeah.
I
flag.
can say that I love myself more, but there are times that I'm like, and more times than not, because you can do that 50-50. It's like, okay, I can sacrifice this because you're supposed to make sacrifices in relationships, but it can't be all the time where you're like, now you're not doing
That
your
happened in my
self-care.
relationship. It created a big shift because it was like she liked me a lot, so did this, and then it made me do
Yep.
this, and then she stopped liking me. It just
Yeah.
created a major shift in a relationship when that
Yeah.
happened, for sure.
That's definitely my biggest red flag for sure, and it's like something that I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like a strong sense of empathy and sympathy that you grow, especially people in recovery. Like, we are probably the most sympathetic and empathetic people because we know what it's like to want to be there for those in need, and so you sacrifice a lot, but there has to be some fine line of like, okay, well, like I can't do too much to exhaust myself and burn myself out. I got to take a step back, even if it means setting that boundary. And I guess really
Right.
setting boundaries.
Same
Yeah,
here.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'll share mine. I can be a little too playful at times.
Playful by sarcastic.
Not
Honestly, same.
sarcastic, making fun of,
Okay.
pranking,
Oh, pranking.
however you want to
Catch me
call it.
pranking.
I've caught myself every once in a while where I like say a joke or I do a prank or I say an off comment joke or an off topic joke or off of whatever you want to call it, not a good joke.
Yeah.
That's like self-deprecating or deprecating to the other person, and I see it in her face that she's like, "Oh, that was not cool."
Yes.
And I have to like take a step back and be like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you."
Well, it's good. You can step back.
Yeah.
But that's why I consider it a red flag, because there are times where I don't realize that I have to step back until she's like, "Hey, that wasn't cool," and I'm like, "Crap, my bad."
Yeah.
It takes, I guess, a realization of like what your partner's humor is, because like what your humor is and what you've grown up with, some people find funny, but maybe your most
Maybe completely different.
yeah, maybe completely different. So a lot of people, I feel like, have that like not bullying sense of humor, but very like you know what I mean? Like not like mean, but like that's just their humor.
And you know what I think the
And
biggest
then-
issue is in that too? Sorry to cut
No,
you
you're
off.
good, you're
Is
good.
that people don't know how to read the room.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you could be telling a joke and they could be exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
a big bully, but it's like, that's fine sometimes. Like if you're around those kind of people, but if you're around someone that's like, obviously you're
Sensitive.
hitting them with
Yes.
jokes and you're like,
all right.
they're like, bro, they're standing there like depressed looking and you're
Right.
still hitting them. It's like, you got to learn to read the room. And I actually used to say that back in high school. I'm like, we have so many classes that are like BS. They should put like a mental health class in
Yes.
school that teaches
Mental
people
literacy?
literally just how to read the room.
Yeah.
I like
Like
that mental
how to
literacy.
read the room. Like literally how to just have a conversation with someone and understand when they're bothering them or offending them and knowing
Yeah.
when to shut up.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, looking
Yeah.
at facial
100%. That goes. That's such a
body
big thing
movement.
in life that we neglect, and we teach so many things in high school, middle school, elementary
Right.
that are like so we don't need.
Yeah.
And that's such a big thing that could help you get
Well,
so
I
far
don't
in
know
life.
if we don't need it, because I thought, what is it? 85 was
Geometry.
85 I was saying, like,
75 was 15 away.
Hey, geometry was useless, and I forever will say that. I hated
Yeah.
geometry. Oh my god.
So that's to the people who build that chair.
That's
Anyways,
like, that's against geometry, kind of, right?
kind of. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what
who
geometry is
cares?
used for. Do I
like-
look like someone
think
who knows
it's
what
like
geometry was used
engineering.
for?
It's like
Definitely
physics,
like engineering,
yeah.
building.
Well,
that kind of vibe.
I just want to kind of go into this third topic that I wanted to hit on.
do it.
I think we've talked a lot about communication, which was definitely the main anchor that we wanted to hit on this episode. We've talked about the importance of talking about it, right? And the
Yep.
importance of that personal responsibility to like understand, the kind of person that you want to pursue, right? I want us to play a quick game.
Let's do it.
To end the episode, I want us to do something a little more lighthearted.
I want to win.
I want to.
Well, it's not necessarily a winning game. I want to get to know you and your relationship a little bit
Bring
better.
it on.
So we're gonna play a good old game of most likely.
Relationship with myself.
Okay.
I'm
You.
a loner.
I want to use for you. You
You-
can use.
All the single people out there, I'm your
gonna be an
I'm your
easy for
example.
him.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, you can say for you. Let's do this. I'm gonna ask a question. You're gonna be like, I don't know if I would consider myself that.
Just pretend I'm in a relationship
Sure.
with a ghost.
Most likely to. Here's the first one. Wear the best outfit when you go out at
Ooh.
night.
Ooh,
My girlfriend.
My girlfriend, honestly.
I
You got some
curse.
cute fits though. Have you seen me wear them at work?
You know what? That's a good question because like I love. Oh my god, that's like the most attractive thing for me is on a
A
girl
nice
is
outfit.
someone that could dress well and like that like
Yes.
just very. She just looks like nice and smells nice. She just
Ooh,
looks like
I
she
have
smells
I have
nice.
a good question for you. So this is like a societal thing. I feel like maybe it might hit for you. I don't know.
100 probably.
Do you feel as if, because people have said this, like, do you feel as if you have to be with a woman that's more attractive than you?
No, absolutely
or
not.
Do you want it to be
What is it? I don't know
equal?
how attractive I am, so I don't know what that would actually be. So like that question
Because
is
I know
like
some guys
it's also like
genuinely-
subjective too.
Some
I'm
men
like a
are
7,
like,
she's like an
I
8,
need
man, it
her to
works.
be. I need her to be like not as.
I'm not
Attractive.
gonna lie, I need to be attracted to the girl. That's
Well,
the
of course,
biggest thing for
that's
me.
Yeah.
So
physical,
like if
yeah.
But you're okay if like.
but
some-
ideally
yeah.
if like I'm attracted to her and other people I've been with a girl, I've literally been with a girl and I kid you not, I went to the beach, chilling, she went to the bathroom, I'm chilling with other girls and other dudes, and literally the girls are like, why are you with her, bro? Like
Oh.
and
That's
I
a
thought
lot.
she was very
Oh,
attractive
wow.
girl.
That's a lot.
I thought she was
No, no,
super
no, no, no.
attractive.
That's
Like to
mean,
me,
yeah.
she was like, wow. Like
That
I
kinda
thought she
hits,
was wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
And then they said that
That's
to
all
me,
that
I'm like,
matters. Yeah, like.
I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I was gonna say like.
But,
I about,
but
what
look,
about,
this
okay,
is my
so kind of-
horrible brain,
Yeah.
man
Keep
brain.
playing the game.
This is my horrible man brain. it made me think like I deserve better than her.
Last
For a
question
bit.
to kind of
And I did it. So
a girl with like, if you're out and she's wearing like crazy high heels, like, do you care if she's taller than you? Do you care if she's like overpowering?
I mean, I'm a
your
little
height?
insecure with height, as all dudes are, but I'm not like.
I'm short and I love it.
I've been with a
There you
girl
go.
that's
Like, I'm a
6'2"
short
before.
king.
I don't
Oh,
care.
wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll
Yeah.
take that. I'll
Yes.
take that.
But
I'm a
like,
short
it's
king.
like a subconscious insecurity. It's like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
a damn,
over
that
here,
girl's
just, like, in our
tall.
own
Like,
combo.
oh my
Yeah.
god, she's gonna like look over me. Like even when I was
Bro,
with that one girl,
jump.
even
Yeah.
when I was with that
You
one
can
girl, I made
jump.
jokes.
Just
like,
jump. It's
Yeah.
fine.
like all the time. So it's.
I heard a
think-
comedian say it once, and this might be a little like a little adult humor. I'm sorry, but he said, "I don't care if a girl's taller than me. I'll climb trees. I do it all the
That's
time."
exactly what I'm
Oh,
saying. I was gonna say
Crazy.
that, but I didn't want to say that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
All right.
Again, guys are taking over. Kayla's not here. This is what happened.
Hey, man.
Sorry.
This podcast, 700 views.
Can you imagine?
But I've always said like the more controversial stuff, not even controversial. These are things that
Just
people
real
deal with
stuff,
on
yeah.
the daily basis a
It's
lot
not
more
talked about,
realistically.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
controversial because we don't talk about
And I know I've had like a lot of like crazy takes or said some things, but it's because I really want to be the devil's advocate
Yeah.
and I want to
We
bring
like
in
being
points. You got to bring those points up because there's so many people out there that are gonna have these questions.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You know?
I agree.
absolutely.
All right, next question. Who between you and your partner, who has the best music taste?
Me, hands
Well,
down.
okay, both of us, because we have the same music taste.
Okay.
So I can't really say.
So I feel that when I answer this question, I'm gonna get a beating when I get home. So I'm gonna say me, and the reason I'm gonna say me is because, and it's nothing to do with her taste. I think she has her own taste. They're awesome for her. I just
for
feel
her?
I have a
Wide
wider
range. Yes.
range
Yeah.
of music that I listen to,
Yes.
whereas she has a very specific type of music that she likes.
Yeah.
You know, she's a big fan of Taylor Swift, Phoebe
Yeah.
Bridgers, that kind of stuff, and that's great. She loves that. I love that for her. I know, Lauren, you've shared with me a couple of times that you love that. That's great.
Not
For
really.
me, though, it's just not something I
Yeah.
enjoy. But I've developed on my Apple Music just a wider
Not
range.
Spotify?
I used to use Spotify. I prefer Apple Music.
I used to use
I
Spotify
joined the
too,
dark
and-
side.
Are you-
I like Spotify,
I love
On that
Spotify.
Apple
but
Music.
Apple
Not the but.
Apple has the family plans, you know.
Apple
Yeah.
has
So
the
does
family
Spotify.
plan.
Oh, Spotify has the student plans.
That's true.
Yeah, they have.
So-
I'm
so
not a
does
student
Apple.
anymore.
But anyways, it's just a wider range.
I don't just
That's what
listen to
was
Taylor Swift, by the way.
I know you don't. I know
have
you
the
you do look like a-
beautiful,
She listens to No Kahan. She listens to Lumineers.
I love
Yeah, I've-
some like
You,
reggae.
you're like too
For those who
conservative
don't know-
for me to even think you listen to only Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
You
What?
look
Wait,
very
what?
conservative. You're like such a
does that
conservative
even
looking
mean?
person. She looks like she like listens to like I don't even know what like a podcast. What do you listen
Sometimes.
to?
She only
I
listens
listen
to.
to-
We listen only
I
to talk
honestly,
about
I'm asking because I
No,
want to
yeah.
know. I feel like music tells you a lot about who that person
No,
is.
Yes.
definitely.
So who do
Yes.
you listen to? Who do you guys
Let's
really
say,
listen to?
okay, so my like top from
Three.
like
Let's do
last
top three.
year, like on Spotify, it was Taylor Swift, obviously.
Oh my god.
John Mayer is
Yeah,
like
okay.
my go-to.
Yes.
Like that's my guy. Jack Johnson. That is
Okay,
just,
okay.
like the beachy island, and a lot of reggae.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
newer age reggae, older age reggae.
I love reggae,
I
yeah.
love reggae, man.
I like
Revolution.
Oh, I love
like,
Revolution.
Tribal
They're
Seeds.
They're fire. I've actually seen them before.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to see them in next month.
That's like
so.
the only reggae band I've ever seen in my life, actually.
Basically anything you can chill on a beach and just listen to. Like
Just
I
vibe. You're a
love
very
like the
vibey person.
saxophone.
Yeah.
I love drums. Like
See,
I
I'm the
get into like
opposite.
some guitarist instrumental.
You do
I
give off
like-
a chill person, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do I give off? When you
Okay,
see
okay, I'm gonna tell you right now. You give off
This is going back to our
Adele,
music
Billie
episode.
Eilish. You give off
Yeah.
very, very like artistic people. I don't want.
take
I feel
it.
like saying Billie Eilish makes people sound sad. I
Well,
don't.
No,
That,
but
well,
but
here's my
artistic.
thing.
You give off very artistic vibes.
Here's my
aw,
thing.
thanks. Well, I'm an artist.
Great. That's not. That's what I was gonna go at. It's not necessarily fair because I know a fact about you
Oh.
that these people who might be listening in might not know.
These people. What do you mean by that? No, I'm kidding.
These listeners or viewers.
I'm kidding.
I know you enjoy, and you're very good because I've seen you.
Aw.
You enjoy dancing.
Yes.
Oh, you dance?
You're
That's
a
fire,
dance.
too.
dancer,
Really?
yeah.
I know Abby dance. We should all dance one of these days. I mean, I'm not
me
like
and
a
Abby know each
professional,
other
but I've
from
been dancing
dance.
for years.
Like I've known Abby for like 7 years-ish
Yeah.
now, but from dance. What
Abby
kind of
was in
dance?
our.
I like hip-hop dance, but-
You like
elevating Black History Month episode. If you guys remember that episode, Abby was a part of it. She
Yes.
and Bri knew each other for many years, right?
Yeah.
You guys were like best friends.
2017, 18, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I was trying to think of any artists that like have like dance.
Yeah, Billy for sure.
Like Billy, like I feel like Billy has like leads to do.
Billy
very, like,
actually
Post
hangs out with a
Malone?
lot of dance
Post Malone
groups
is-
too.
What's
Yeah.
that? What's that name when it's? I don't want to call it poetic dancing, but you know what
Interpretive
I'm
dancing.
Thank you.
Interpretive dance,
Yeah.
That's the word,
fire.
interpretive
That's the
dancing.
slow,
Yeah. I
like
do contemporary.
I love interpretive dance. Contemporary, oh, that's fire too. That's very
Check out
similar.
my Instagram.
There you go.
Isn't
We'll
that
put it in
it's
the
kind of
link.
similar, no?
Yeah, it
Contemporary?
pretty much is. Like contemporary is like it's such a different wide range.
Mellow,
now.
right?
Yeah, but it can be like very like.
We should do an episode of dancing.
That's
around
fire.
Take that is. I'll go off. That is
That's
my.
cool.
See, I like that kind of dancing because I like I don't.
like So You Think You
I
Know
like
Stuff.
choreographed dancing because it's cool, but I like more of the emotional, like
Yeah.
how are you feeling at the moment? Like I like crump a lot.
Yeah.
I love crumping. I
Yeah.
like one of my favorite dance
We have a
styles,
lot of
and it's
that.
literally
The
just
emotional
people
dance of crumping.
high energy, just going
go.
crazy. But
Yeah.
it's so cool to
It's
watch.
like dance culture is like one.
It's the
favorite
coolest
culture.
culture I
Yeah.
think in the
Like,
world.
and I
To
feel
be
like it's
honest,
societal. Like,
Wow.
if, yeah.
what's a cooler culture than dance culture?
Movie
Seriously.
culture.
No way. No way.
It is pretty cool.
Fun, but not cooler.
I can do the wave.
Miami
go.
Film Festival I went to yesterday, and it was
So
it was
cool.
such a cool,
That's
what
awesome.
we were
cool
talking about.
vibe. Yeah.
That's
Very
awesome.
All right, here's the next question. Which one of you in the relationship would probably be more famous on TikTok?
My girlfriend, because I'm on private. And I will not come on private. My
go.
girlfriend has some pretty
Definitely not me.
not famous, but like she has like some pretty wide viewed TikToks
Really?
about her and stuff. Yeah. She posts me, obviously. She's like really good at making like those cute little like clippets of things and like making videos and
Okay.
like whatever like montages. And
I want a
Yeah.
girl that nobody knows, so hopefully not.
yeah.
So
Okay.
hopefully that no one knows
I
them on
think
social
I think
media.
I would be, because when I used to do TikTok and Vine and all that stuff back in the day,
That's your stuff. Yeah.
I got a little bit
Like
of a viewing, not
techie
too much.
video. Yeah.
I was.
That's
yeah.
what I do. So I would say me, mainly because my fiance.
We should all
doesn't
start doing
post.
reacts. I'm gonna start doing reacts videos myself, actually, but we should start doing like a reacts video
for
Yeah.
talking
for
wellness.
for self-aware wellness.
For
Yeah,
reacting to some really weird speakers.
yeah. React to some. I don't know. We'll have to find a niche,
all right,
but
here's number 4, and I'm gonna go quick here because
Yeah.
for time. Which one of you is most likely to do a stand-up routine?
Like comedy. Me.
Definitely Mia. Definitely my
I
girlfriend.
would.
Really?
Yeah.
You.
I was gonna say you.
Comedy?
Yeah.
I was gonna
No,
say you.
She's hysterical. Like she can like enter. Like she's just funny. She's funny.
I
Wow.
think my girlfriend
I'm
has
funny, I
more
think-
confidence to do it. I think I'm fun. I'm not gonna get in trouble today.
Well, I'll say this, Lauren. The reason why I would think you is because you've talked to me about your love of comedy, your love of stand-up. You've shared it with me before, so I thought that like immediately Lauren's gonna be like me. But there you
See,
go.
I like to spectate. I like to watch it. I'm not.
You don't wanna
sometimes
go
I'm
up and get,
funny.
like,
people
we
will
have
laugh at
comedy
me when
or
I'm like
Mike night.
Oh yeah.
Go do a bit.
you give me
probably
very office humor,
like, oh my god,
and that's my favorite show of all
like
time.
Parks
Good,
and Rec.
good.
Favorite show of
No,
all
it's
time.
very like dry humor.
dry
but it's
It's just
so
like you have no idea if it's a joke
That's-
unless
yeah,
you're
so
smart
that's
enough
what
to
happens,
understand
like
it.
Parks
mostly
and Rec,
if my
all
girlfriend's
that.
like
Exactly.
laughing at
Modern
me, it's
Family,
like
oh my
I
God.
My
just said
favorite
something
comedies-
serious and she's like dying laughing. I'm like, oh, I
My
didn't realize.
favorite
Like,
show
You
is
have to have the
Modern
intelligence
Family.
to understand what she's kind of
Yes.
saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, definitely.
Because it's not like a
Try
dumb
some
Taylor
joke.
Swift and dry humor, Lauren.
Yeah.
Aw.
Hey, that's like a
would
people
do me.
love that. People love that. Taylor Swift in The Office. That's perfect.
That's true. A lot of people.
That-
love
that
it.
would be
Friends
good for a
over
lot
The
of
Office,
people,
though.
yeah.
Definitely friends
I-
over The Office.
I love The Office.
Here's the last. Oh, by the way, I would say me. I would be a stand-up person, even though she's
for
really
sure.
wants to do it one day.
I would definitely be the
I
stand-up
would be the first
person
one to
for
do it.
sure.
Here's the last one to end the podcast, and I think
Dead meat.
I was being a little
Hesitant.
hesitant because I didn't want to get you guys in trouble.
Oh.
Or I didn't want to
Get
get
'em in
you
trouble.
guys
Setting us
in
up.
a situation where you'll be like, oh, I'm gonna have to respond to that at some point in my life. Who's the first one to pop the question?
Me.
My
I
girlfriend.
already talked to her about it.
Oh,
I
there you
was
go.
like, I want to do it. I want to be the one. We're talking about marriage, right? Like a proposal.
No, I was gonna say, do you do taxes or no? I'm kidding. Yeah.
Oh, I was like, what are we talking about? No, I have this beautiful idea, which I'm not going to say.
Of
which
course.
we can have that discussion afterwards.
I would love to.
But I have I want to give her like literally the best proposal ever.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, let me do it. And you can just
Skydiving.
give me a hug and it's fine.
Skydiving.
No, I already went skydiving. That was the best experience. One of the best experiences in my life.
Cool.
But
What about you,
You think-
Lauren?
My girlfriend, and it took me like 6 months to finally be in a relationship with her. So it was a fun journey, but I'm glad it happened the way that it happened. But she definitely had to, yeah.
You know, guys,
That's a great movie, though,
It's been
too.
a great episode of Talking Wellness. We've gotten to a lot of topics.
Yes.
as
Got
you
all
can
over the
see.
place.
A little bit all over the place, but you know that's what we do here, man.
Yeah.
It's to have fun and to talk about
Yep.
these topics. But most importantly, I think we got to the core of what we really wanted to talk about, which
For
was
sure.
Yeah.
the importance of communication in relationships,
Yeah.
right? But also the importance of, if you're going to be a person in recovery and in a relationship, as the episode is titled,
Yeah.
make sure that you're working on yourself first,
Yeah.
right? So that we get to a point where we can be in a healthy
Yeah.
relationship.
No dependence.
And when we get, no
No
dependency.
dependency.
And then when we get into that relationship, make sure that you try to find somebody that is going to elevate you
Yes.
in your recovery experience.
And keep
right?
it maintained.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah, because
Balance.
at the end of the day, like, why it's not worth it to be with somebody who doesn't want to understand, because there's a difference between not understanding and not
And then not
wanting,
wanting to try.
try
Yes.
and
Ooh,
Yeah.
work.
That's
and
a whole
make
other
it happen.
topic.
Yeah.
Right? That's a whole different topic that we
Yeah.
can get into. But at the end of the day, make sure that that for your own recovery experience too, for your own wellness, find somebody that is going to at least try.
Yes.
Right? Like, what more
Effort.
can we ask
Effort's
for?
all that you
Right?
need.
There's days where my fiance, she's like very walking on eggshells through some conversations and some things, because she knows sometimes some things tick me off.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to a flow where we can have conversations about that and be like, hey, you don't have to walk on eggshells based on that. I've worked on this. We don't have to, or hey, I never want you to feel this way when we're having these conversations, because, you know, I've
Yeah.
worked on it myself and I can talk about this openly with you, especially with you, since you're my support, of course, right? So just being mindful of
Yes.
relationships, I think, is the most
Mindful.
important thing. And I think every single one of us has shared a different perspective on that, the importance of mindfulness in relationship, right?
Yeah.
So please hit that like button, hit
Like,
that subscribe,
all
share the
those
podcast
things.
wherever
Share
you
it
want.
with
If
your
you are
mamas and
in
your mamas.
audio, exactly, with your mama, grandma, partner, you know,
Definitely your
husband.
partners.
Absolutely, your partners. Hey, maybe you guys might learn
Future
something together.
partners, aspiring partners.
Yeah, if you have a crush,
If you have
just
a crush
send him
on,
this video.
Hey,
we got a single guy.
I was really thinking about you, and I just wanted you to watch this.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? What do
why?
you think? Anyways, if you're one of our audio listeners on Apple Music or Spotify or anywhere else you get your podcasts, please give us a 5-star rating. It really helps to push the podcast to more people and more places. I was looking at our map where it tells us all the countries that are listening from. Bro, Brazil,
Wow.
Russia, Europe,
Brasileiros. That's
Brasileiros,
fire.
Puerto Rico, Canada. We got people everywhere. We got one in Australia. Wherever you are, crikey, thank you.
Shout out to you,
Thank
mate. Shout out to you,
Shout out
mate.
to you, mate. But that's kind of what I'm saying, is that we're able to reach more places when you guys push the podcast. So we really appreciate the love and support. Please be here next week for another riveting episode of Talkin' Wellness, where we're going to get into more topics, and who knows, we might even have
And
some people
guys,
join us in the couch.
please let us know if you like these kind of feistier, like all over the place kind of
Feisty.
Yeah.
It's Aries
podcast,
season, so
you know,
you know
and
how
we're
that
or
both
do
works.
you
Aries.
want us to like
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
not be
Thank
so?
you.
What's your birthday?
Well, it's my birthday on Monday, and it was her birthday literally on what, Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Happy
We're
birthday,
Aries.
guys!
Thank you.
20 what and 21?
24.
Oh, you said
24
that.
and 24.
You said that so depressed.
I'm getting old, man.
I'm getting
I'm
old
closer
too.
to 30 than 20 now.
I'm turning
You know, I-
30 this year.
that-
What?
Feel me?
Remember when I was
I
talking
know.
about joking and bad jokes? I say that joke to my fiance all the time. I'm like, she's 26, and I
Getting
always say, yeah, you're basically 30.
Yeah.
And she gets mad
No,
at me. She's
if
like,
my
I'm
girlfriend-
not
I'm
30.
crying.
Closer to
It's a
30 than
scary-
20.
Yeah,
Closer to
aging
30 than
is
20.
Intense. Scary stuff.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening
Bye,
so much.
guys.
Bye,
See you guys in the
guys.
next one.